Hello, I'm Paul Hedges and I'm the Professor of Interreligious Studies here at the S. Rajaratnam School in Singapore, and I'm here to talk to you about my latest book, Christian Polytheism. The subtitle is quite long, Polydox Theologies of Multi-devotional and Decolonial Praxis. So the book itself, quite unusual for a book by RSIS staff, is about theology. It's not about international relations, it's not about sort of strategy or terrorism or any of these issues. It is, I said, this a book of theology. But it's also a book about the politics of theology, about how we think about and frame religious diversity in various ways. Now, what's perhaps sort of important in this book for us to think about is some of the language itself. So in the journal article I wrote, I introduced two terms, monodevotionalism and polydevotionalism, as I would suggest sort of better, more analytical ways to talk about religious diversity. Now, just in case you're wondering why monotheism and polytheism are bad terms, if we think about Hinduism, which most people call a typical polytheism, actually in one of the foundational texts for how many Hindus think about their tradition, the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna there reveals himself not simply be sort of one god amongst many, but a source of all gods. If you like, Krishna himself, he brings together in his cosmic form all of these different deities. In fact, the whole universe is part of himself. So this looks a lot more like what we'd call sort of monotheism. Yes, if you like, sort of lesser divine beings, what we call the other gods, are there, but they're all part of him. And certainly sort of many Christians, they talk about their God as if there was almost three separate beings out there in various ways, which was not how the early sort of Greek fathers using Greek philosophy defined how we should talk about and think about the Trinity. So we don't actually find, if you like, this pure monotheism and a pure polytheism somewhere in the world. So better language to think about this is important. I also sort of raise, if you like, questions about the politics of language, the power of who gets to determine sort of this language in various ways. But I've mentioned it is essentially sort of a theological book. It's written for us as sort of Christian sort of theologians to think about how they think about their tradition, where it comes from, but to raise these wider questions about sort of what is religious diversity, how do we think about religious diversity, and I said this power of terminology, sometimes the colonial and decolonial sort of issues that lie in this usage where polytheism is often associated with perhaps being less civilized, with superstition, against monotheism, which becomes valorized in various ways. So it is a theological book and a political book in various ways, and I hope you read it and enjoy it.